The Drzyr civilization began its life like we all do. Struggling to walk, we reached for the stars. In reaching for the stars, we left our home behind, only to embrace a new home. The mighty planet ship Neurud was born, and we began its journey into the universe. Along with us came Shahala, the guardian of our race, acting as a manager for the great core of Neurud. Within Neurud, we found a new purpose. Old rivalries between castes and houses were set aside, and we became united in our search for truth. The Afildi, managed by House Rigol, and the least of the 5 castes, would work to keep the ship in one piece and forever moving forward. The Zul, managed by House Lithla, would invent and search for new ways for progress. The Fatir, managed by House Me'ertal, researched defensive and offensive options, allowing us to maintain order even against unexpected threats, or threats from within. House Weck trained new astropaths, who gave other houses guidance against future threats through the use of the Ambit Ember, allowing them an expanded perception of the universe. And finally, House Almaroon directed Neurud as a whole, leading us on our journey by the will of the Seekers. 2 questions troubled us beyond all else. The first, are we alone, would later be confirmed to be true, but ignited within us a love for natural life in all its forms. We created the Custodian, Neurud's controlling AI, to protect all life, and especially that of the Drzyr. Thus equipped, we continued through the universe, searching for the answer to the second question. Where is our Creator? Without any other life in the universe, we clung to the possibility of intelligent design. In our search, there was always order in the chaos. Too much order to be random. Nature followed rules, and in those rules we could find intent. Surely somewhere out there was the phenomenon that had sparked our existence, that had begun our struggle into the stars. With a new purpose in mind, we renewed our multi-millennia-long search. Eons passed, and still we continued, until the very stars themselves began to burn out. Our hope was finally beginning to fade, our resolve crack. The hunger for knowledge that had been sated so many times that even we had begun to exhaust our options. And then, at last, we had arrived at God.
After countless centuries, we have arrived at our destination, the seat of creation, Alepsis Torah. All paths have led us here.
With our arrival, another question burned in our minds. Why were we created? As one, our broken unity reformed, and we burned with curiosity. This place, Alepsis Torah, could not exist. Yet here it was. In front of our eyes was something that nature could not have created. Only a higher intelligence could have brought its chaotic order into being. These signs marked the supermassive black hole as our next destination. Within it, we knew not what, but it had to be something to point us to our Creator. Why would they have created us in this universe, alone and empty? What was the point of our existence if we had none other to share it with? Preparations began. Calculations were checked and double-checked. Durable as Neurud was, our kind was not the type to make idle guesses. Chief among us were the astropaths, led by Talratha and the Neurud's own core AI, the Custodian. It was with these two that our first obstacles appeared. Both stated with unerring certainty that Neurud would not survive its trip, that we were doomed to be torn apart by the forces of our destination. It was inconceivable. There was no other option. Talratha was wise and had full control over his Ambit Ember visions. He had guided us through the stars for thousands of years. But he could still be wrong. The custodian was ever looking to preserve life, but to the point of zealotry. Talrotha could be overruled, but the custodian was Nerude. It would have to be replaced. It was when we began our war against the custodian that we discovered our unity was not complete. Among the robots and machines were members of the Afildi caste who had long performed maintenance on the great automaton. Willing to protect its decision to turn away from our future, they were wiped out just like the rest. Today, not even their names remain. We are not a violent race. We have weapons, yes, but we abhor their use. However, even we were surprised at how quickly the war ended. The Fetir had been creating and testing new weapons ever since Nerude had launched. Now, they had an excuse to use them. But despite the overwhelming firepower, it was not an easy fight. The Afildi easily outnumbered us and had potent weapons of their own, and the custodian's control of our environment was second to none. The custodian was taken apart and reassembled. Parts of the machine were redistributed or decommissioned, never to be a threat again. The custodian's instinct to preserve life was stripped, and it was made to agree with us. At last, Nerude stood unified with the rest of the Drzyr. So finally, we turned our eyes back to Elepsis Tora. Talrotha still remained, but he was just one man. Seeing he would be overruled and ignored, Talrotha took things into his own hands. Building a shelter on the surface of Nerude, he and his followers disappeared into it. Unfortunately, while I do not know their fate, another does. But that's a story for another time. With Talrotha's disappearance, all votes pointed to one outcome. We were to enter Elepsis Tora unhindered. And so we did. Alas, only then did we understand the true depths of our despair. The two advisors that we had attacked and ignored were our sole insight into our own state. It was upon our entry that we discovered how wrong we were. While not wholly destroyed, Nerude's shields were not enough to withstand the staggering power of a super black hole. Worse even than the effects on Nerude was the effect on its inhabitants. Many of those in cryopods found their stasis seals were ineffective against such power. We were trapped within a signposted prison, dying to our own hubris, and all we could do was watch as our population died in millions. 100 years this went on, until the custodian was able to finally jump the ship once more. Nerude, and the universe it now inhabited, had become a tomb. The world that had gone into Elepsis Tora was once vibrant and full of life. Now, all that is left is a poison-choked wasteland. The universe has long flickered out, and we are more alone now than we ever were before. If there was still anyone to notice. Our corpses, inhabited by a strange, barely living sludge, wander the deserts. Our remaining support droids continue their endless patrols, all to masters that are no longer living. In our desire to find purpose, we had suicidally blundered into the first, albeit best, option we found. We had killed our entire race. Our story does not end here, but now the telling must be continued by another. A strange creature, one only superficially resembling our kind, appeared on the remains of Nerude. Our story diverges. When the traveler found the Guardian, they assisted the custodian in subduing it. The control of the core, which we had at one point wrested away from the custodian, is at last returned to it. In our ultimate folly, all that the grand AI of Nerude is reduced to is being able to carry out the wishes of the race we had killed. In another blink, Nerude returns to the trap we had worked so hard to place it in. But this time, it is not in vain. While the Drzyr and Nerude are gone, our memories are not. We know not what form we take now, but we continue to exist, for nothing can truly be destroyed. And what of Talratha? Our visitor finds him too. Talratha's shelter proved to be truly ingenious. In our pursuit of life, we never considered that life could be used to protect it. The Astropath Primus has now swollen into a monstrosity, seeking to safeguard all the memories of the Drzyr within his body. For a time, he even succeeds. Once again, however, the custodian comes knocking, and again it's the traveler who does his work for him. Talratha, for however right he was about the fate of Narud, was still driven mad by his sheer survival instinct. In this, he was sentenced to death, not by us, but by what we as a people had built. And again, Narud is reduced to nothing. Grieve not for us, though. We have always searched for purpose, and even in our new form, none of that search is forgotten. I leave this for those who wish to know our story, in the hopes that it can help them to avoid our mistakes. Our story may be over, but yours is not. So go, explore. Look for meaning in a universe that defies meaning in every turn. If you cannot find meaning, then make your own. The Drzyr were a race looking for purpose. When they conquered all challenges, they lost what purpose they had. Falling into despair, they searched for their creator. And when they did not find one, they dubbed that nothingness, the complete lack of a creator, as their god. With nothing but time itself to keep them company, their search ended at Alepsis Tora, an empty space where their creator should be. In this unmeasurable and unobservable space, they finally found that thing they had been searching for. But you cannot find nothing, only return to it. Their god is nowhere, and now, so are they.